Hi, my fellow crochet rock stars. Hope you're all well today. We are going to make this fun hat today. I know I do a lot of hats, but it's my wheelhouse right now, and people seem to enjoy them. So this is a design I came up with on my own. If it's out there somewhere, let me know down in the comments. I'm not real sure, but like always, this is Lynn from Curiosity Crochet, and we are going to jump into this. It looks complicated, but it's not. And there is a few different rows, and I did the band a little bit different because I like doing things different. I don't tend to do everything inside the box that's always done. So we're gonna walk through all of this together, well, every step. And like always, I'm gonna do it on a small scale since I already made this one. And but we'll walk through every step, and I know you guys can get through it. So today I'm going to just use, and for the hat, for this hat, I used Premier yarn again. This was their everyday and the no pilling stuff. In this gray, the red, and this rose color. And then I'm going to use this stuff that I've been using for making these videos. It's just one of their lower end ones, but it's still, like, this stuff's pretty good for it being one of their lower end ones. Just a 4-weight. Like always, you can use any weight you'd like. With this particular one, this one's pretty close to the everyday that I used, and it recommends a 5.5. I'm actually going to use a 4.5 on the brim. Then I'm going to jump to a 5.5 for like the middle part of the hat, and then just for the top part, I'm going to go to a 5 because it brings it in nice. So it works really well. You're going to need 3 colors. 1 for the brim, and then 2 for the top part of the hat. Now, whatever, I tend to do a lighter and a darker. So, like for this, I'm going to do gray for the brim, and then I'm going to do blue and white. So that bottom part of the hat, like at the bottom of the brim here, you do it in your darker color, like in your secondary color, basically. They're both kind of evenly matched, but your brighter color, let's put it that way. Use your brighter color to put that row around the bottom, and that's real easy. We'll go over that too. So yeah, let's get all of our supplies together. If you are using a thinner weight, I would use, if you're using a thinner weight, I would still use the hooks I'm using, because it'll work up better. Because if you use a smaller hook, it's gonna make it real tight, and then it's not gonna lay right. So I would still use the 4.5, the 5.5, and then the 5 with a 3 weight. With a 5 weight, I would go up a little bit. Like, I would check out what it recommends on the yarn and just do a hook size, like a 1.5 size smaller for the brim, and then do the recommended for the middle part, and then the one smaller for the top part. And if you choose to use like a bulky weight, like a 6 weight yarn, use the recommended on that one too. But yeah, so let's get all of our stuff together and we'll get going. Okay, so for the brim, whatever color you choose to use for your brim is fine. This particular pattern that I came up with, I call hot cross buns, because it's made up of crosses, and it lays real nice. It actually makes for a real nice brim. I'm happy with it. But like always, we have multiples. So the top part of the hat needs multiples of 3 plus 2. So for the brim, because we need it to be multiples of 2, basically, because we're working in 2s, it can still be a multiple of 3. It just has to be an even number. So 60 is a multiple of 3. 63 wouldn't work. 66 would work. Anything that is an even number, but a multiple of 3. And then you want to add 2 to whatever that number is. So you'll get your multiple of 3. That's an even number. And then you'll add 2 to that. And then we'll start on the brim. And just make sure that it is, measure the length. I always say generally 21 to 22 inches long. If it's a bigger head, I would do 22 to 24 inches. If you're making it smaller, if it's for a child, generally 17 to 18 inches would be enough. So whatever multiples you get to with whatever yarn you're working with, that measures to that. I'm going to do mine on a small scale, so I'm just going to do 32. So let me get that and I'll meet you back. Okay, once you get your multiples of 3 in an even number, and then you've added 2 more, we're going to follow this chain down without twisting it and get back to your first chain all the way back here at the beginning, and we're going to slip stitch. And now what we're going to do for the first row, it's nice and easy. We're going to chain 2. And now we're actually going to work in the back loops of this because it just makes it easier when you put, now that bottom row with the extra color is totally optional. If you don't want to add that, you don't have to. But if you're going to add it, this just working in the back loop here makes it easier to add that, because then you have, it looks like stitches down there other than just adding to the chain. So this first one can be tricky to get to, but because we slip stitched and it pulled, it's over here. Like if you look at it, there's an extra piece right here, and we're gonna half double crochet into these back loops here. So make sure you get that first one, because the chain doesn't count as anything. And this first one can be a little tricky to get into, but once you get it in there, it's fine. And try to, don't do what I did and get that string out in front. Make sure it stays in back. But so the back loop, see, like if you're looking at the front of your stitches and you see the V's, you're just gonna turn it over and you'll see this back loop here. And that's what we're gonna work into for that. So you just yarn over and stick your hook through that back loop, pull up a loop, and pull it through all 3. That's your half double crochet. So yarn over, and we're going to do this in every stitch around for the first row. So just 1 half double crochet in the back loop all the way around. So go ahead and get that done, and we'll meet back up, okay? Okay, once you come back around, I always tell everybody, make sure you count your stitches. How many ever chains you had should be how many stitches you had, so that it works up properly. Because I know, even me, even everybody, we make mistakes, and the best way to not mess it up is right from the beginning. Make sure you've got the right number. So then we're gonna slip stitch into the top of that first half double crochet. And then we are going to chain 3 for this row. Now this has got a 2-row repeat too, but it's real easy. So your first row is this half double crochet. Now this is the second row, what we're about to do. So what you're gonna do is, don't worry about your chain. Like, these don't count as anything. They're just our builders. So you've got these first 2 half double crochets. We're going to skip this first one to begin with, and we're going to work around this second one. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to do a front post double crochet. So we're going to go in the side and come out, and we're going to grab that loop, pull it up, and finish our double crochet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to double back to this one we skipped. We're going to yarn over and we're going to come across and we're going to still go behind and come back up for that front post and finish our double crochet. Now you got a little X going on. So now again, we're going to skip this first one and go to the next. We're going to yarn over. We're going to go in the side and come back up for the front post. We're going to grab our yarn, pull it up, and finish our double crochet. Now we're going to cross back to that one we skipped. We're going to yarn over and cross back and go around it from behind and do our double crochet. So now we're getting some X's going on. So let's go over that one more time. You're going to skip the very next one. Don't mistake it for the one you've worked. You can see it pulling here. So skip the very next one and go on to the next and you're going to go in through the side and come up from behind, grab your yarn and finish your double crochet. And then we're going to go back. We're going to go in through the side and come up behind, grab our yarn and finish the double crochet. And that's what we're going to do all the way around for this row. Okay? So go ahead and get that done and I'll meet you back. Okay, now that we've come back around, you can see we've got some X's going on. And because we did our multiples of 3 in even numbers, it should end perfectly with one last X here. And then now we're just going to repeat those two rows, the half double crochet row and the X row, until you get it the width you want to. On this one that I did, I just did 2 sets. So I did the half double and 1X, half double, 1X, but then I did 1 extra row of half double crochet in the brim color. And then we'll jump into the pattern. So just make sure however wide or thin you make it, do 1 extra row of the half double crochet row so that we can start from there on the next part. And if you want to add this color to the bottom like I did, it is simply just a row of half double crochet around. And the stitch count should be the same as whatever your chains were. So it's literally just attach the color anywhere really around the brim and then just half double crochet all the way around. Connect it, tie off, and then sew in those ends. I didn't think I needed to show you guys that, but I figured I would just explain that. So if you wanted to do it, you could. So go ahead and get your brim worked up, and don't forget to do 1 extra row of half double crochets. And then for this little thing, I'm just going to do 1 more row of half double crochet so I can show you where to go from here. Okay, so get that done and we'll meet back. Okay, once you guys get that last row of half double crochet done, you'll know you're done at the end of this row, because you'll have finished in that last crossed one. And then we're just gonna slip stitch into the top of that first half double, and then you can cut off of this color. And I've showed on other videos, but I like I go in through the back of this same stitch I slip stitched into and grab this loop. Well, stick a fork in me, guys, I'm done. So, and then I pull it through there so that it's on the inside. I just think it lays nicer when you do that. And then chain your 1 and just pull a little bit so that you have something to sew in. Or you can crochet it in when you start the next row. It's totally up to you. Less to sew in, right? So then you should have your brim going. Now, whatever color you decided to do around the bottom, your brighter color, is what I want you to start with here. Now, it's a 3-row repeat, but they're easy. 2 of the rows are made out of single crochets. The 3rd row is a little bit more complicated, but I'm going to walk you through it. And once you get a rhythm down, you're going to be great. Oh, and change your hook to the bigger size one. I'm going to the 5.5, so whatever you're using. So yeah, you want to use your brighter color here, and we're going to start the first row of the repeat. This is the very first row. So I always start with a slip knot and just attach it where I slip stitched in that first stitch there. And pull it through and slip stitch it on there. And then chain 1. Now, the fun thing about this one is everything's chain 1. Every single row is chain 1. So you don't have to remember different chains. You don't have to... I tried to make this as simple as I could because I just loved the way it looked, but I wanted it to be doable for everybody. So if you're watching and you're kind of a beginner, you still should be able to do this, because I'm going to show you. We're going to walk through it, and then it's going to be fun once you get a rhythm down. So for this very first row, this is the first row of the repeat, you are really just going to single crochet around. That's it for the first row. You're just going to go into every stitch. Don't forget about the first one there, the one you chained 1 out of, and you are just going to single crochet all the way around. That's how easy this first row is. We are just going to single crochet ourselves to the beginning. So go ahead and get your single crochets done, and we will meet right back. Okay, once you come back around, you're going... Now, this color here, the first 2 rows of the repeat are always going to be in this color. So 2 rows of the repeat are in the bright color. And then the 3rd row is done in that other color. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first single. We're going to chain 1. Now, this row is still single crochet, but it's a little bit different. We're going to single crochet into that first stitch, and now we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and single crochet into the next. We're going to chain 2, we're going to skip 2, and we're going to single crochet in the next. See, it's so hard, you guys. Chain 2, skip 2, single crochet in the next. Chain 2, skip 2, single crochet in the next. Okay, so that's row 2 of the repeat. Now, because these 2 rows are so simple, basically, we're gonna get through the next row, and then I'm gonna let you guys go, because it's gonna be that easy, and I'll explain to you everything when we get to the next row. So go ahead and finish this one up, and we're going to change colors and get started on that 3rd row. Okay, so now when you come back around, you're just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. Oh, you're not. We're going to change colors here. We are going to pretend like we're going to slip stitch, and we're going to grab our 3rd color, whatever your lighter color is. And we are going to pull that color through. Now, don't cut off the other color, because it's easier just to leave them attached, because you're going to keep picking it up anyways. So you just drop it. Drop that other color. Now, I always like doing the first stitch over the other color, just so I know it's staying in place. So like I said, every row is chain 1. The first stitch is another single crochet. We're going to single crochet right into that first stitch. Now you can drop that other color. Now you can crochet in this end of this color. I'm not worrying about it, because this is just for you guys. So now what we're going to do is, not in this row, but that row of half double crochets, we're going to come down into this first one. Don't worry about the second one. The very first one, we're going to go right below it. We're going to yarn over, and we are going to insert and do a long double crochet right there. So the very first one in the half double crochet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bean stitch around this double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go in between here, and we're going to go in and we're going to pull up a loop. We're going to do that 3 times. So that was 1, yarn over, go in for 2, yarn over, go in for 3. You should have 7 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're going to pull through all 7. Now don't chain 1 or anything. We're not closing it off, because that next single crochet there, we're gonna single crochet into it, and that closes it off. So that gives you your line there, your little bean stitch, and it's gonna give you that contrast. So now we're gonna do that again. We're gonna jump over here, and this first stitch right underneath it into the half double crochet. We're going to yarn over, we're going to insert there and pull up and finish our double crochet. And now we're going to do that little bean stitch in here again. So you can turn it a little sideways, makes it a little easier sometimes, but you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go in there 3 times. Pull up a loop. 1, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 3. And pull it through, and then jump over to the next single and single crochet. I told you guys to be able to do it. I knew you could. So let's do that one more time. So this very first stitch right below it into this half double down here, you're gonna yarn over, insert in there, pull up a loop, and finish your double crochet. Now we're going to go in here 3 times. Yarn over 1, yarn over 2, yarn over 3, pull through all 7 loops, and then single crochet in the next single. And then that's what you start getting right there. And then after this row, you're going to do your first single crochet row, and you're going to do it in every stitch. So don't forget about this first single crochet here that we started with, and then you're going to go into this one, into the top of the bean, and then in between here, and then it starts over again. So you're going to put 1 single in each of them. You'll still have that same stitch count. We haven't changed stitch counts at all. It changes a little bit with the chain too, but this turns into 2 stitches by itself right here. So you've got 1, 2, 3 stitches. See how that works? It's so cool. So that's what you're going to repeat. You're going to repeat the row of single crochet. You're going to repeat the single crochet in the chain 2, and then you're going to do this row over and over again. Now after you do this and you get to the next set of these, you're going to notice that you're going into this single crochet here. So after you get your 2 rows of single crochets and you have to come down, you're always going to go into this first single crochet right here. That's where you'll be dropping down and going into. So that's where you're going to get your rhythm. You're just going to notice that's where I need to go. You'll see it. And the single crochet that's in this spot looks a little bit lower. You'll notice that. So just always look for this first single crochet from this row, because that's what you're going into. It works up real fast too. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to repeat single crochet row, single crochet chain 2, single crochet chain 2, and then you're going to do this row with the double crochets and the beans, and you're going to get it to whatever height you want it to be. I always say for a small beanie, you know, you could stop at 6-7 inches. We don't have that much closing to do on this one. It's another simple closure. So I would say do it to about 7 inches for a small beanie. And then if you want a little space, do about 8. If you want it slouchy, 9 to 10. If you want it super slouchy, 11. Because we're not, like I said, there's not much to the closing. So you could go all the way up to 11 inches. It is totally up to you. It is your hat. So this one I did to 7 inches before I started closing. And it's still pretty long. I mean, it's a nice sized beanie. It's average. It's not too small, it's not too big. But I think if you did it at 6 inches, it would be a little too short. So I would suggest if you just want a normal size beanie, do it between 7 and 8 inches. So go ahead and get that all done, and then we'll meet back up and I'm going to show you what we're going to do to close. It's real simple, so it's going to be easy. See you back. Real quick, I just wanted to add that you'll always end on a single crochet here. At the end of these rows here, you always end on a single, and then you'll start the slip stitch, and then you'll pull up your other color. And the other thing I wanted to let you know is don't end on this row. Do one more row of the single crochet around, and then we'll start the decrease. Okay, so as soon as you get that last row of single crochet done, we'll meet back and we'll start to close it up. One last thing I wanted to mention, because I don't want you guys to think you did something wrong if you're coming back to the video. When you do this chain 2 row on the very first row, there's going to be one stitch left to skip, because we had to have an even number for this. There's an extra stitch, so just skip that stitch, because it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. There will be a little bit of a gap here, but it's the back of the hat, so it doesn't matter. Nobody will notice that. If it bothers you and you want to restart this, just do a multiple of 3 on an odd number and add 1, because then you'll be right on there. But I tend to want my bands a little bit bigger so that there's more room in them. So I always added the 2 when I was working this hat up. So it works up good either way. It's totally personal preference. But now we're going to start the closing. And what we're going to do is keep the same color for right now for this first row, because we're still going to use both colors. So just slip stitch it for now and chain your 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in that same stitch and single crochet 1 and 1 into the next. So you've got 2 in a row. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease, which is you go in the front loop only. So if you look at your V, there's 2 loops, a front loop and a back loop. We're just going to go in the front loop of that first stitch, and then we're going to bring our hook down and come through and go through the front loop of that second stitch, and then bring up a loop and finish your single crochet. So that's what we're going to repeat. We're going to do 2 in a row, and then we're going to do that invisible decrease over the next 2. So 2 in the next, or 1 in the next 2, and then invisible decrease over the next 2. So go ahead and repeat that for this round, and then when we meet back up, we're going to change colors again. Okay, and then when you come back up to the end here, you'll probably have either 1 or 2 extra stitches. If you have 2, just go ahead and decrease them. Don't, do that invisible decrease. Because when we start decreasing, the stitch count has no bearing. it really doesn't matter at this point. If you only have one left, just single crochet into it, and then we'll jump ahead. So now we're going to switch back to the other color again. And for this first row with this color, because we're going to do 2 rows in this color too. For the first row, we're just going to single crochet ourselves around. No decreasing this row. We're just going to single crochet. So make sure you get into that first stitch that you slip stitched into. Drop that other color, and then just single crochet around. Just 1 row of single crochets. This shouldn't take me long. Well, if I don't grab the other yarn, it'll be great. This won't take me long, so I'll just come around here with you guys. I don't usually stay recording while I'm going around, but I knew this wouldn't take too long, because how boring is that to watch somebody crochet? Okay, so now we're going to slip stitch. We're going to leave it the same color. And now for this row, we're going to chain 1. We're going to go back into that same stitch we slip stitched into and do 1 single crochet. And then we're going to do the invisible decrease over the next 2. So that's our repeat this time. We do 1 by itself and then invisible decrease over the next 2. 1 by itself and then invisible decrease. Okay, so that's what you're going to repeat for this row. And then I'll meet you back when you're done with that. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to change colors again. I didn't do that last row on this just because it's already getting pretty small. So we're going to change colors one last time. Now you're going to either do 1 more row or 2 more rows. This one's on personal preference too. But the last 2 rows are literally just 2 together all the way around. Now I say optional the last row because some people don't mind cinching it together with a big hole. I like bringing it as small as I can without completely closing it because I just think it closes up nicer. But it's all personal preference. If we do this row and it seems small enough for you to cinch it closed, then that's what I want you to do. If you like doing it like me, then do 1 extra row of 2 together around and then cinch it up. So it's just like the other invisible decreases. We're going to go into that front loop of that first one that we slip stitch into and the next one and just pull it all together now. So just every single stitch is 2 together all the way around. And then like I said, if you want to pull it in a little bit more, you can do 1 more row of this same thing in the same color, and you can cut off the other color now because we're done with that. So you can get this out of your way and cut it off and be donezo with that one. And then, you know, after you get these 2 rows done, you can cinch it up in any style that you do it in. I can show you real quick how I do it. If you've never cinched a hat together, my way is pretty simple. Sometimes I have a hard time getting it in the right angle on here, but I'm gonna do my best to show you. So I'm not gonna do that last row, but if you need to, please do. When you get done doing however you want to do it. Just like we did on the brim. I'm going to pull this up a little bit. And now not in the same stitch this time that we're in, but the next stitch over, I'm going to come up from behind and I'm going to grab that loop, pull it a little tight, and then pull it through to the inside. And then chain one. Now to cinch it up, leave yourself enough to work with. Like, I don't need much for this little baby doll hat. Looks like R2-D2. Look. But oh, I crack myself up. I drive my kids and my husband crazy. But so then pull it to the inside. I always do it from the inside, but if you're going to put a pom-pom on and you really don't care, you don't have to turn it inside out. Even when I'm putting a pom-pom on, I still turn it inside out because I don't know, like, I just like the way it pulls it together better. But see, that's a lot of stuff with crochet is personal preference. It's got to be whatever you're happy with. So let me see if I can show this good, because it's in a weird angle. See how there you can see the stitches? You're going to go in one stitch and you're going to go around and come out the next. So essentially you're going around the post of that single crochet and pulling it through. Now don't go back in the same one you just came out of. Jump to the next two and go in one, come around that post and come out, and then just do that all the way around until you come back to where you started. And this is how I cinch up all my hats. I don't do a whole lot of top down beanies. Pretty much all my beanies are bottom up because I just enjoy them more. I think I have more fun with the brims that way, and I can do more creative stuff that way. I don't know. I don't like, and plus you can measure it better. When you start from the top and come down, you're not getting a good measurement unless you know exactly what yarn you're working with and what not. But anyways, I go back and forth a couple times. And then on the third time coming back, I leave a little loop before I pull it all through. And I put my yarn through that loop and then pull it tight, so that it makes kind of a little slip knot basically. And then just sew in your ends. Well, if it doesn't fall off the needle, but you don't have to watch me sewing ends. But see, then it closes it up nice on the outside and it looks real pretty. Now, you don't have to put a pom-pom on it. It's, again, personal preference. I made a pom-pom for this one and out of the brighter color and added it to match this bottom part. So it's totally up to you. You could put a fur one on there. You could do whatever you want, however you want your hat, or you could leave the pom-pom off because that looks really pretty at the top there. I really like the way this hat turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it worked up nice for you. I hope I explained it properly enough for you to be able to do it. I hope you can take time out and check me out on Facebook. I have a group called The Curiosity Crochet, just like my YouTube page. I would love for you to join. I'd love for you to share hats that you're making along with me. I'd love to see them. I want to see the stuff you guys are making along with me. So check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep making you guys videos. And I'll see you in the next video. I'll come up with something fun again. Have a great one, guys.